Welcome to the Stoic Responder Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Healy. As a special agent who spent more than 15 years conducting large-scale fraud, money laundering, and public corruption investigations, Stoic philosophy provided a mindset edge that became the foundation of my professional success. My mission today is to share those same ancient mindset lessons with you so that you can turn obstacles into opportunities and adversity into advantage. Time to muster up. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoic Responder Podcast. This is episode 88. Be Tranquil. We've kind of tread on this ground before, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper into it today. Before we get started, though, let me remind you about my favorite 501c3, the Overwatch Collective. The Overwatch Collective is nonprofit podcast funding therapy sessions and supporting mental health initiatives for our first responders, our veterans, and their families. Check them out at theoverwatchcollective.com and support their mission any way you can. You can do that by making a donation, attending one of their fundraisers, or by buying some of their sweet gear emblazoned with my favorite motto, one more is one less, because each individual that we support through the Overwatch Collective is one less potential statistic in our community. I also want you to check out Blue Badge Coffee Company if you get a chance, because in addition to providing their customers with the best, highest quality premium coffee their money can buy, they also take a portion of each sale and donate it to law enforcement agencies around the United States to assist them in funding and maintaining peer support and wellness programs. You can check them out and place an order at bluebadgecoffee.com. All right, let me start you out with a quote from Marcus Aurelius about tranquility. Occupy thyself with few things, says the philosopher, if thou would be tranquil. Marcus Aurelius. All right. We have a lot going on in our modern lives. We have distractions, we have obligations, we have temptations. From the moment we rise until the moment we go to bed, we are deluged with expectation. We're deluged with information. We're deluged with entertainment. Every time we pick up our phone to do something necessary, there's a chance for us to go down a 30 or 40 or 50 or 60-minute rabbit hole scrolling through social media, reading headlines, getting off track, not moving forward, doing anything but just sitting with ourselves and being tranquil. And it's only when we're able to take those distractions, those obligations, those temptations, that expectation, that information, that entertainment out of our hands and sit with ourselves and invest our time and energy accordingly. It's only when we do that that we can keep the main thing. Otherwise, we lose the plot. It's only when we declutter our minds and our lives that we can create space for clarity, for purpose, for serenity. If you are a parent like I am, if you are a dog owner like I am, I've got 2 puppies sleeping on the couch across from me as I'm recording this that are new to our family. We're fostering them. We rescued a couple of puppies that were dumped at a new home build in our neighborhood, and we're in the process of, getting them new homes, moving them out of our lives, but they're creating chaos. They're creating distractions, right? And every day I operate around these small windows of time where they're quiet in between periods of massive amounts of distraction and activity. And it's only when we have those moments of quiet that we can create that space for clarity, for purpose, for serenity, to flourish, because we can't do that in a chaotic environment. And unfortunately, our modern environment that we surround ourselves with from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to bed is chaotic, especially right now. We are, as I'm recording this and as you're listening to this, less than 2 weeks from an election, from a presidential election. This is peak distraction, peak just bombardment with the superficial, with what's going on. What did this candidate do? What did that candidate do? What's about to happen today? What's going to happen tomorrow? Here's the latest polls. Here's the latest outrage. Here's the latest whatever. Constant bombardment. And if you were somebody who has ever donated to a political campaign or registered for a political party, your phone is probably blowing up with calls from individuals asking for money, with text messages, with emails, with whatever. If your information is out there as a likely voter, you are getting 10 times the text messages than you normally get right now. You're getting 10 times the phone calls, 10 times the solicitation. And what are we to do with all of that? Well, we need to be disciplined. We need to have discipline. We need to have self-awareness. We need to have a willingness to embrace simplicity in our thoughts, our actions, and possessions, or else we'll get dragged down that rabbit hole and we'll lose the plot. You see, whether we're in the pursuit of wealth or status or material possessions or the next big thing, or whether we are just seeking to be taken away from the reality that we're living, or we're seeking to find some other thing to occupy our minds, we often sacrifice our peace of mind and inner tranquility when we do so. But by simplifying our lives, by detaching ourselves from the unnecessary, that's how we find greater contentment and fulfillment in the present moment. That's how we alleviate the anxiety we feel about the distractions, the obligations, the temptations, the overwhelming amount of information and entertainment that's flying at us anytime. We have to make conscious efforts to detach ourselves from it. And it's easier than you think. It's as easy as taking this phone, this thing that tethers us to all of it, and leaving it at home while we go for a simple walk. It's unplugging the headphones, pulling out the Bluetooth, and just going for a walk. There's been this thing going on. It's a social media phenomenon, but they call it raw dogging a flight, where guys apparently just get on the plane and they don't bring a book. They just turn off their phone or put it on airplane mode, and they just sit there and stare straight ahead. Now, when I was a kid, that was just every time you had an appointment or did anything, you went to the doctor's office, you're going to be sitting around waiting for 45 minutes. Mindfulness. You got on the flight, mindfulness. We didn't have all the distractions. We didn't have all the temptations. We didn't have all the information and entertainment. It was a lot easier to disconnect. It was a lot easier for serenity, clarity, and purpose to flourish. But now we have to actually make those conscious decisions to do that. We have to detach ourselves. We have to simplify our lives. We have to make those moments happen where we get on that plane and we put it all away and we just sit with our damn selves for a minute. We just sit with that space in between our ears. We begin to do that. We don't have to go to that extreme. You don't have to raw dog a flight in order to find some tranquility in your life. We can do that simply by remembering what we control. And we control, of course, our thoughts, our actions, our reactions, our attitudes. Those are ours and ours alone. So if we want to live a tranquil life, the first thing we have to do is making sure that we control our focus and put it on those things that truly matter instead of the extraneous, instead of the distractions, instead of the temptations, instead of the obligations. So let me leave you with a journal prompt today, folks. Ask yourself this: what distractions and temptations are disrupting my tranquility? Make a list. I can tell you, for me, I know exactly what it is. I'm a news junkie, and we're coming off of hurricane season. We've got an election going on. We got a flood of information hitting us left and right. All of that stuff is a major distraction. It's keeping me from focusing on other things. So the easiest way for me to lose that distraction is to spend as much time as I can away from the things that distract me. That's why if you follow me on social media, you haven't seen me on social media a ton lately. I've been consciously separating myself from being a consumer. And the best way for me to not be a consumer is to not be a producer. It's not to put things out into the world on a platform that can drive me into that distraction, that can drive me down that rabbit hole of temptation, of just what's the next story, what's the latest, what's this, what's that. So I've asked myself that question, but I want you to ask that question of yourself as well. What distractions and temptations are disrupting my tranquility? And then make an effort to eliminate those distractions from your life and get a little bit of space and sit alone for a minute with that space between your ears. Thanks so much for listening. I got one more coming to you this week. If you'd like to support this podcast, there's a few ways that you can do so. Number one, you can pick up a copy of my book, In Valor 365 Stoic Meditations for First Responders. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you get your books. I want you to get this book because it's a great way for you to practice this philosophy. It's a great resource for anyone who wants to practice this philosophy daily. And this is a practiced and lived philosophy. We only get better at it. We only get closer to living that virtuous life that the Stoics talk about. We only get closer to that eudaimonia, that inner citadel, that sense of inner control when we practice this daily. It can't be just something that we parachute in on every once in a while. We actually have to make an effort to show up and practice this daily. And when you do, you pick up a copy of that book, it's going to give you some quotes, some contextualization. It's going to give you some stories that are directly relatable to your life, to your job, in that fast-paced, rapidly evolving environment that you operate in. I was going to give you some journal prompts like the one I just gave you, maybe some action items that you can do to integrate these lessons and live the philosophy. Number 2, you can practice this philosophy a little bit easier if you're getting these episodes directly in your email. So head on over to the Substack channel, stoicresponder.substack.com, and for free, you can sign up there and you can get 4 emails a week with these episodes delivered directly to your email, so you'll never miss one. On that page, if you sign up, you're also going to get any writing that I do, whether it's my weekly newsletters, bi-weekly, sometimes bi-monthly, whatever the case may be. Whenever I write something, you're going to get it. That's the only avenue you can go to get that information, those Stoic leadership and personal development tips that I love to write about. And finally, you can like, share, and subscribe this podcast. It would be a great honor for me if you would, and others that way can learn what we're doing here and can avail themselves of some of these lessons as well. Thanks so much, folks, for tuning in. Got one more for you this week. Until next time, you are out of roll.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, rate, and share this podcast so that we can spread the benefits of Stoicism to other first responders. It will only take you a few moments, but it can help us tremendously. Until next time, out of roll.